Hi everyone. The aroma of garlic and simmering sauces was usually my comfort. Years of commanding the kitchen at the Salty Siren had honed my senses, making the chaos of a busy dinner service feel like a well-choreographed dance. But tonight, as I, Reese, packed up the usual bounty of dishes to take home, there was a faint unease clinging to me, like the last wisp of smoke from a grill. Cooking for strangers was one thing, a performance I perfected nightly. Cooking for Alara, my wife, and our two children, Leo, 8, and Zara, 6, was different. It was a silent offering, a daily ritual born of love. Every weekday, after a brutal shift, I'd bring home a hot meal. It was our unspoken pact. I handled dinner during the week. Alara took the weekends, along with weekday breakfasts and lunches. It worked. Or at least it had worked. Last Friday, the house buzzed with Alara's girls' night. Even though exhaustion was a heavy cloak, I stuck to the routine, food bags clutched in my hand. Laughter and the clinking of wine glasses spilled from the living room. I made my brief appearance, a smile, a few words, a quick kiss for Alara, then headed for bed, desperate for sleep. Halfway down the hall, Serafina's voice, sharp and cutting as a freshly whetted knife, pierced the air. "So, does he ever actually cook for you, Alara? Or is he one of those husbands who just cooks at work and thinks his job is done?" I froze. I expected Alara to set the record straight, to say, "Reese brings home dinner every single night." That was the truth, undeniable and constant. But she didn't. Instead, her amused laugh, punctuated by the clink of glass, echoed in the silence. "Oh, you know Reese," she'd said, a theatrical playfulness in her voice. "He'd probably rather leave the cooking to me when he's home." That line, simple as it was, felt like a brutal punch to the gut. It wasn't just a throwaway comment. It was a casual dismissal of everything I did, every tired night, every carefully prepared meal. Serafina, a predator sensing weakness, pounced. "Ugh, don't even get me started," she drawled, swirling her wine. Her ex-husband, according to her, was the embodiment of sloth. I used to come home from work, groceries in one arm, laundry in the other, and this guy's on the couch with chips on his chest, watching golf like it's a full-time job. I swear I could have dropped dead in front of him and he would have asked me to keep it down. And Alara, my wife, sat there, laughing, nodding along, as if this stranger's bitter caricature was the most relatable thing she'd ever heard. Serafina leaned in, a mock whisper, and if I ever asked him to cook, he'd act like I was asking him to build a rocket ship. Alara snorted, a genuine burst of mirth. "Yeah, I get that. It's so hard to get Reese to cook at home." In that moment, I ceased to be Reese, the dedicated husband who brought home dinner every night, tired feet and all. I was transformed into a punchline, a lazy husband who couldn't be bothered. I stood there, a statue carved from disbelief. Not anger, not yet. Just a stunned emptiness. "Really, Alara? That's how you want to play this?" I didn't storm in. It was girls' night. They were drinking, unwinding. I didn't want to be the sensitive fool, or worse, ignite a war in front of her friends. But the barb festered. The longer I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling fan, the deeper it dug. It wasn't about the joke itself. It was about hearing my wife, who knew precisely what I did every night, join in a narrative that painted me as a useless bum. A quiet slap, wrapped in giggles and wine, but a slap all the same. The next morning I waited. For an apology, for a knowing glance, anything that acknowledged the previous night's betrayal. Nothing. She was normal, cheerful even, as if the words had never left her lips. After breakfast, with the kids safely out of earshot, I finally spoke. "Hey, last night when you guys were joking about me not cooking, that stung. You know I cook dinner for us every night. Why would you just laugh along and make it sound like I don't?" She looked at me, a dismissive wave of her hand. "Oh, come on, Reese. It was just a joke. I didn't think you'd take it so seriously." It's not just a joke when your partner, the person who knows all the effort you put in, sits there and pretends you do nothing. I tried to explain, my voice tight. It felt disrespectful. Like all my effort didn't matter. Instead of understanding, she doubled down. She was just trying to keep things light, she said, avoiding awkwardness with Serafina. As if defending my character would somehow lead to a dramatic scene. All she had to say was, "Actually, he does cook. He brings dinner home for us every single night." But no, that would have been too awkward. Instead, she told me to just let it go and stop being so sensitive. That fueled the fire. We weren't seeing eye to eye, not remotely. What was the point of talking? Whatever I said would simply bounce off her hardened dismissal. So I let it go for the moment. But it lingered, a quiet, heavy weight reminding me that my own wife thought so little of my contribution that she'd rather laugh it off with a friend than stand up for me. The whole damn weekend was a slow burn of resentment. Maybe some would call me overreacting, taking a dumb joke too personally. But it wasn't just the joke. It was what it represented. Every night, I worked my shift, packed the food, ensuring my family had a good dinner. I took pride in it, sometimes making 2 or 3 different dishes to please everyone. I cared. And in return, it felt like my efforts were not just unacknowledged, but actively mocked. The silent protest. Monday arrived, and the resentment had solidified into resolve. This time, I wouldn't just talk. I'd make her understand. After putting the kids to bed, I confronted her again. "Look, I know it seemed like no big deal to you, but it made me feel like all the effort I put in just doesn't matter to you. It's like you'd rather laugh along with your friends than say something nice about me." She gave me that look, a mixture of disbelief and irritation. "Are you serious right now? I already told you it was just a joke. Why are you still so hung up on it?" "Because it's not just about the joke," I retorted, struggling to keep my voice even. "It's about the fact that you didn't even correct her. It's one thing to laugh, but another to just sit there and let your friend think I do nothing. It's like you'd rather let them believe that than actually stand up for me." She crossed her arms, defensive. I didn't want to make it awkward in front of Serafina. I was just trying to avoid any weird vibes. "So it's better to make me look bad than to make your friend feel uncomfortable?" I couldn't help the bitterness that crept into my voice. She let out a long sigh, as if I was deliberately missing the point. "I'm sorry if it came off that way, but it wasn't like that at all. I just didn't want to make it awkward by arguing with Serafina about something so trivial." Trivial. That word, dripping with casual disdain, snapped something inside me. It was clear she was never going to get it. She'd rather let me be the butt of the joke, the fall guy, than risk her friend experiencing a moment of mild discomfort. "I don't get how you think it's trivial when I'm the one doing this every day," I said, my voice rising. "You think I'm happy to come home tired from work and still make dinner every night? I do it because I want to, but it would be nice to feel like it's at least noticed. I'm not asking for a medal here, just a little acknowledgement." She stood there, arms crossed, the familiar look of disbelief and judgment on her face. "Well, maybe I just thought you'd let it go because it was one comment." A wall went up between us. She saw a trivial joke. I saw a gaping hole in her respect for me. "All right," I said, the words cold and deliberate. "If it's no big deal to you, then maybe I'll just stop bringing home dinner. That way you won't have to feel awkward or cover for me, since apparently I'm not doing much anyway." I expected her to pause, to think. Instead, she rolled her eyes and laughed, a mocking, dismissive sound. "Oh, don't be ridiculous. You're really going to stop bringing dinner home just because of one little joke?" I was done. The argument was pointless. "Fine," I said, my voice flat. "I guess we'll see then." I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there, alone. The Cold War at home. The next day, I followed through. I brought food home, but only for Leo and Zara. They didn't ask for this, and I wouldn't drag them into our battle. Alara, I reasoned, wouldn't mind if it was truly no big deal. That night, she eyed the takeout bags, expectation etched on her face. When she realized there was nothing for her, her eyes narrowed and her face flushed. "So you're really not bringing me anything now?" she muttered, stomping off to the kitchen to make herself a sandwich. For the next few days, I stuck to my silent protest. Food for the kids, nothing for her. Each night, she gave me that annoyed look, a mixture of irritation and challenge, but she said nothing. It was a quiet, tense standoff, both of us waiting for the other to break. A part of me hoped she'd finally understand, realize I wasn't being unreasonable. But every night was the same. She'd make her own food, shoot me that look, and we'd go to bed in silence. One night, tucking Leo in, he looked up, his brow furrowed. "Dad, how come you're only bringing food for me and Zara? Doesn't Mom want any?" "'Cause they see everything. Mom's making her own food this week, buddy," I said, trying to sound casual. He looked confused but didn't press. A strange mix of pettiness and conviction swirled within me. I tried talking, explaining, and she'd brushed me off. This felt like the only way to make her see I was serious, that it wasn't about the food, but about respect. The crack in the facade. A few more days bled into the silent standoff, and I noticed it. Ilara's patience was wearing thin. She might have pretended not to care, but the lack of prepared dinners was clearly bothering her. I saw it in her posture, the way her eyes darted to the takeout bags, a subtle pause, hoping for her share. Each time, she'd turn and quietly make something for herself. Then the hints began. One night, a loud sigh while making a sandwich. Another night, a theatrical comment to the fridge. "It's so tiring to have to cook after a long day." The irony wasn't lost on me. I said nothing, pretending not to hear. Friday night, the hints turned direct. I walked in with the kids' dinner. Ilara was scrolling on her phone, but I felt her expectant gaze. When she saw I hadn't brought anything for her, she let out a long, exasperated sigh. "Really, you're still doing this?" I shrugged. "Well, you don't think I do anything, so I figured I'd give you a taste of what that's like." She lost her cool. Standing up, hands on her hips, she snapped, "This is getting ridiculous, don't you think? I get it, you're mad. But I already told you it wasn't meant to be taken seriously." "If it's not a big deal," I said, my voice steady, "then why does it bother you so much? You laughed along with your friend like I'm just some guy who can't be bothered to cook for his own family, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just giving you a break from my non-cooking." She half-jotted. "It's not about that," she said after a beat. "It's about you refusing to move on from something that wasn't even meant to hurt you. I thought you'd understand. I was just trying to keep things light with Serafina." I took a breath, fighting the urge to snap. It's not hard to just say, "Hey, my husband actually cooks every night." Why is that such a big deal to you? You didn't even try to stand up for me. You just went along with it. She looked at me, and for the first time in days, she had no immediate response. Her mouth opened, then closed. I thought, this is it? She finally sees. But instead, she just shook her head. "Well, I still don't get why you're so bent out of shape over one joke." She turned and walked off to the kitchen. I stood there, the wall between us still solid. I had hit bedrock. The breakthrough. Sunday morning. Her usual cooking day. But she sat in the kitchen, sipping coffee, scrolling, waiting. The kids watched cartoons. The quiet hummed with unspoken tension. Finally, she looked up. "So, you're just going to sit there and not help at all?" I knew where this was going. "I thought you'd be happy to get a break from all my non-cooking," I said, the edge in my voice undeniable. That set her off. She put her coffee down with a sharp clink. "You're being really petty, you know that? You're dragging this out way too far, just to make a point." "Maybe I wouldn't have to make a point if you just apologized instead of brushing it off," I said, calm and steady. "I don't get why that's so hard. All I wanted was for you to say you're sorry for making me look like a deadbeat in front of your friends." She stared at me, and this time I saw it, actual thought, not just reaction. A long sigh. "Fine, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I made you feel like you weren't doing enough, but it's really tiring having to cook for myself after a long day. I don't know. It's been hard too." A part of me wanted to just accept it. But the tired part, the part that had carried dinner home night after night, still smarted. "You know, I do this every night after work. It's not exactly easy for me either." She nodded. No argument, no eye roll. "Yeah, I know," she said quietly, looking defeated. "Maybe I didn't think about it that way." Silence. Not awkward, but heavy with unsaid things. I saw something shift in her face. She was getting it. Not all the way, but she was on her way. Look, I get that you're upset. But are we really going to keep this up? She asked. I don't want the kids to feel like there's something wrong between us. She had a point. I didn't want our Cold War to cast a shadow over Leo and Zara. Look, I'll bring you dinner again, alright? But I need you to get why this bugged me so much. I'm not just being petty for no reason. I work hard, and I want that to mean something to you too. She nodded slowly. And for the first time her, I'm sorry, felt real. The tension in the room eased. We still had work to do, but the wall had finally cracked. A new rhythm. Things felt lighter. Not perfect, but lighter. The cold shoulders and subtle digs were gone, replaced by a cautious calm. I returned to my routine of bringing dinner home for everyone. It felt right, a return to our routine, but with a new understanding beneath it. When she saw the food for her in the bags, a quiet relief flickered across her face. That night, as we ate, she did something she hadn't done in a while. She asked about my day. Real questions, follow-ups, the kind that show you're truly listening. And when I spoke, she looked at me. Then, as if reading my thoughts, she said, I really do appreciate everything you do, you know. It caught me off guard. Yeah. I managed, trying to sound casual. She nodded. I know I messed up with Serafina. I should have stood up for you. I didn't realize how important it was to you, but I get it now. Her voice was devoid of fluff or defensiveness. It was honest. I mumbled, thanks, not wanting to overdramatize the moment. The silence that followed was comfortable, a sign that something had shifted for the better. The rest of the week was peaceful. She didn't bring it up again, but her small actions spoke volumes. One night, I found the kitchen already clean. Another day, a text, hey, what do you feel like eating tonight? I'll take care of dinner. No fuss, just that. Her way of saying I see you. I got this today. The public vindication. Then Thursday evening, the doorbell rang. Serafina. Standing there, a ghost from awkward conversations past, all loud energy and talking over Alara. I kept my cool, but my chest tightened. Did Alara tell her anything? Did she still see me as the lazy husband? Then Serafina dropped it again. So has he finally picked up a spatula at home yet? She said, grinning at Alara, a shared joke from girls' night. For a split second, I braced myself. Would Alara laugh it off again? But she didn't. Alara cleared her throat, straightened, and gave Serafina a polite, controlled smile. Then she said, actually, he brings home dinner for us every night after work. He's been doing it for years. Simple. Direct. Just facts. Serafina blinked, her mouth slightly open, caught off guard. Oh, I didn't know that, she mumbled, her tone suddenly off balance. She gave a weird little laugh and pivoted fast, launching into a story about work. I didn't need an apology from Serafina. But hearing Alara say that, out loud, correcting the record, claiming my contribution, that meant everything. It was closure. My wife had finally understood, and she was showing it, even if it made her uncomfortable. After Serafina left, Alara leaned against the counter, fidgeting with her phone. I wanted to make sure she knew the truth this time, she said, almost explaining it to herself. I gave her a small smile. She looked relieved, as if seeking approval that I'd seen her effort. I had. Later that night, as we got ready for bed, she brought it up again. You know, I've been thinking about how I handled things with Serafina, she said, not looking at me at first. I didn't realize it, but I guess I was kind of embarrassed to tell her how much you actually do. It's like I felt this weird pressure to fit in with her experience, even though it wasn't true for us. I didn't fully grasp her reasoning, not deep down. But I saw her honesty, her effort. I appreciate you saying that, I said, resting my hand on her back. It's just that, to me, all the stuff I do, it's not just for show, you know? I want to be a good husband, a good dad, and it sucks when people think I'm the opposite. She nodded, turning to me. I get it now. I really do. I'm sorry it took me so long. I didn't push it. She had said what I needed to hear. We both had lessons to learn, and I saw her willingness to meet me halfway. The air between us felt clearer, less like a minefield. It had been a lot. More than I expected from a stupid offhand comment. But it had forced us to talk, to truly see each other, and in a strange way, it brought us closer. We were stronger now. As we went to bed, there was no lingering tension, no silent distance. Just the quiet sense that we were back on the same team. That's all I'd wanted. The simple joys of being seen. After everything settled, a genuine lightness filled our home. The kids, oblivious to the deeper currents of our struggle, seemed to sense the change too. Everything just felt easier, less strained. I returned to my routine of bringing dinner home each night, and it felt better than before. The weight of going unappreciated had truly lifted. I wasn't just going through the motions, I was showing up, and I felt Ilara finally saw that. She didn't need to say anything, her small actions spoke volumes. She'd set the table before I got home, or start cleaning up after dinner without me asking, a definite new development. It wasn't a grand gesture, but it meant the world. It was as if she'd finally noticed what I'd been doing all along, and that recognition made a huge difference. The week after our big talk, we had one of those rare nights where everything aligned. The kids were absorbed in their school projects, and Ilara and I found ourselves alone at the table, sharing a meal I'd brought home. We talked, the usual easy banter about our days, laughing about the kitchen getting slammed or frustrating meetings. It felt normal, the good kind of normal. Then, out of nowhere, she set her fork down and looked at me, a serious glint in her eyes. You know, I've been thinking about what you said about how you want to be a good husband and dad. I paused, caught off guard. Yeah. I don't think I ever realized how much it mattered to you, she said, her voice soft. Her words surprised me in the best way. I hadn't expected her to dwell on it after everything. But our little storm had clearly made her reflect more than I'd realized. I leaned back in my chair. It's not even just about being good, I explained. I don't want to be like my dad, you know? Never there, never really giving a damn. I know I work a lot, but I still want you and the kids to feel like I'm trying, like I care, because I do. She nodded slowly. I know that now. I guess I just took it for granted. Thought you'd always do those things just because that's who you are. But I get it. You're not just doing it out of habit. You're choosing to, and I want to appreciate that more. Hearing her say that out loud hit me with a wave of relief. It was like I wasn't carrying it all on my own anymore. I didn't need her to praise me every day, just knowing she saw the effort was enough. We talked more after that, honest, easy conversation, the kind I'd missed. Then that Friday, she did something that truly stuck with me. I got back from work earlier than usual, expecting the quiet house and the smell of takeout. Instead, I was greeted by the unmistakable scent of something cooking. That rarely happened. But there she was, standing at the stove, apron on, making a meal for all of us. She'd set the table, had a drink ready for me, and even told the kids it was a special thank you dinner for Dad. I just stood there, taking it all in. The kids were bouncing around, excited. And Ilara, she had this big, proud smile. She reached over, took my hand, and pulled me toward the table. I just wanted to give you a break, she said softly. You deserve one after all those dinners. In that moment, it hit me. It wasn't grand or showy. But she'd thought about it, gone out of her way to make my favorite dish, put in the effort to make the night feel special. That meant everything. For once, I was on the other side, just sitting, relaxing, enjoying a meal without a single thought about prep, timing, or cleanup. Just being taken care of. It felt strange at first, but a good kind of strange. The kids were eating it up, literally and figuratively. Leo teased, Mom, are you going to start cooking every Friday now? And Zara giggled, Dad's still the real chef, though. It was light and fun, exactly what I needed. And even though they didn't understand everything that had gone on between Ilara and me, I could tell they sensed the shift. Things felt softer, easier, like the whole house could finally exhale. After dinner, I instinctively reached for the dishes, but Ilara waved me off. Nope, she said, pointing to the couch. Sit. You're off duty tonight. I mean it. You sure? I asked, a bit skeptical. Positive, she said with a smirk. Relax. You've earned it. And I did. I sat back, watching her clean up, humming to herself. The whole thing felt peaceful, a quiet reassurance that, yes, she really did want to make things right. Later that night, once the kids were in bed, winding down in the living room, she turned to me again. "I know I've said it already," she began, "but I really am sorry. I shouldn't have let that joke with Serafina go like that. You do a lot for us, Reese, and I never want you to feel like it goes unnoticed." I looked at her, not needing to say much because the truth was in everything she'd done that day. Still, I nodded. "Thanks. I mean it." I think it just made me realize how important it is to feel seen, especially in your own home. She reached out, rested her hand on mine. "I get that now." We didn't have some long heart-to-heart after that. No dramatic declarations. But we didn't need it. The air felt clear, and I think we both understood that we'd hit a bump, figured it out, and come out better on the other side. We're not perfect. Never claimed to be. But after that night, we were a little closer, a little more thoughtful with each other. Ilara doesn't just assume I'll handle everything, and I'm not walking around holding on to some quiet resentment. We talk more, check in more. And honestly, it feels good. I've always believed relationships take work, but sometimes it's the small stuff, the offhand comment, the shrug, the missed acknowledgement, that teaches you the biggest lessons. So yeah, it was just a little misunderstanding that spiraled further than it needed to. But it ended up being the thing that reminded us both what we mean to each other. And the next time someone like Serafina makes a comment, I know Ilara's not going to let it slide. She'll step up, speak up, and make sure I'm not standing there alone. We're both learning, both trying. And at the end of the day, that's all I can really ask for. Funny how something that seems so small turned out to be exactly what we needed to get a little closer. And I guess that's the real win in all of this. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.